Hello, welcome back to the Gamer's Tale. My name is Trent Gander. I will be your dungeon master for the evening. I am joined by Lee the Tech Priest, and we will be discussing tonight the icons of gaming in the first part of our series. So what do I mean by the icons of gaming? Well, games that set the genre up, that everyone defines the genre by, and that have inspired further games down the line. So the ideal game that everyone thinks of when they think of a particular genre. These are the games that we'll be talking about. So we'll be covering all the genres. Let's start back in the early times with the games on the NES. And since we have the Tech Priest here, does he have anything from the time, before 2000, that rings the bell of an iconic game?
Obviously we can get into, the genre defining games, everything from Contra, Metroid, Legend of Zelda, all of those, even if you didn't play them, and we're finding a lot of people who never played them originally who are going back and, playing them through an emulator. But there are so many games that define the genre very early into gaming. Um, for me, probably the most influential is gotta be River City Ransom. Um,
uh, I encountered a ROM emulator of that where they added swear words and changed the skin tone to it, so it made me call it Hispanic Gang War.
and that's one of those. I, for me, it set the love of the side-scrolling beat 'em up, as just one of those genres that's a lot of fun, even if it's not necessarily the most in-depth, and the
Yeah,
love of co-op games,
definitely.
couch games.
Uh, I have Capcom Classics for my PlayStation 2, and they have Final Fight, which I think is one of like the early trend-setting games for more adult content in a side scroller, even before Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
And I have to say that it is very fun. They have hookers attacking you, and uh, you have to, you unfortunately have to fight a guy in a wheelchair at the end who, for some reason, is equipped with an automatic crossbow in the modern age. But this actually sets the tone for a lot of the later Street Fighter games because they include one of the main characters, Cody, in their lineup after whoever makes Street Fighter bought out Capcom. Or no, Capcom is Street Fighter, but they combined the genres after uh, Final Fight kind of died out in its popularity.
And there was a lot of the interbreeding of the side-scrolling uh, fighter genre there, especially during the mid 90s, as everybody's like, oh, hey, we need to release a new game every 3 months. So they're just loaning out various characters from various franchises back and forth to keep pumping out games.
Well, we still see that today with Soul Calibur, even though it somewhat died as much. But they had cameos by Link, Darth Vader, Yoda,
Oh, yeah, exactly.
and I think we're kind of reaching the same point with Injustice, and that they, despite the fact that's not as frequently released, but we're getting back into those head-to-head fighting games, and at least with Call of Duty, with the games every 3 months.
And I think to an extent the games every 3 months is solely because they couldn't put out DLC.
Yeah,
I which is what it is. I definitely don't miss the days of full price games every 3 months, every 6 months, every 8 months. That the DLC at least makes it a little cheaper.
yeah. But then there's the whole complaining about not downloading or not being able to download or purchase a fully fledged game. They have the view that modern games are merely slapped together and then they finish them after they get more DLC, which I haven't really encountered because I have no money to purchase them. But where was I going with that? Going back to the side scroller, one of the games I know that certainly shaped my brother's gaming was Super Double Dragon, and having played it and its variants throughout the years, I have to say it was a legitimately fun game.
For me, that I always really sucked at the like intense Double Dragon. I can't do. I suck. It's the same with Shinobi. It's the same with the original Ninja Gaiden. I suck. I'm gonna go sit in the corner and cry.
Yeah. Then there's all the Asian inspired games that are so great back in the day, especially like on the NES with Legend of Cage. Even though my brother and I are like, that should be Legend of Kage. But yeah, the graphics have changed so much, especially with. I remember seeing something today that said, "Oh, the original Mario was 32 bits, and this entire image that we're showing you now is 140 bits."
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
The original level of technology that they had to deal with that we found entertaining is mind-blowingly simple. Especially when it says, "Don't blow on the cartridges because that's wrong and that's bad. You shouldn't do that." That's the only way your cartridges work.
Yeah, I still to this day, because I've got my original NES still, and it's one of those things like the minute I can't get it to work, pull the cartridge, blow in it,
Well, even it worked. Their Nintendo's, for lack of a better term, formula for having to blow on the stuff lasted all the way up to the Game Boy Advance, if not beyond.
Oh yeah,
because having an open data source without really any affordable packaging is not what you want, especially when people are just like throwing the games underneath their beds and stuff like I do.
And it's funny as we're talking about, genre defining games, talk about the cultural phenomenon that is an NES game not working. Everybody immediately knows what to do. Pop it out, blow on it,
Yeah, but now today we don't have that because your laser disc goes wrong. It's like, what the heck do I do now?
I'm not gonna lie. Until discs, I was absolutely like you, like, oh hey, it doesn't matter, throw it in the box. The minute I destroyed a couple game CDs, absolutely like got super anal retentive about they must go back in the correct case. The case must go, in its storage area. No, you don't just let it sit on time because screw buying a game more than once.
Oh yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't really like the trend that was removing of backwards compatibility on consoles, because like I want to play the games I already have. I just want to do it on a better console, a more reliable console, but I can't do that because it's not backwards compatible.
And that's one of those things of the remastering of games, I really think is the better route to go, vice backwards compatibility, simply from a tech perspective. If they're going to spend how many thousands of hours making a game backwards compatible, there's a case to be made that it's easier to just turn around and remaster it, and it'll keep the initial purchase of the platform lower.
Oh yeah, I remember I'd probably be maybe about 5 years ago now when they re-released Halo Combat Evolved with better graphics. It's like I would play that compared to the really boxy, crappy looking Halo Combat Evolved that we originally had when we had an improved setup. It's like, ooh. I might try that. Which brings us
Oh,
to another genre-defining game, Halo. It set up what we have now for the first-person shooter.
and honestly, I think to an extent that was largely due to the online.
Oh,
The
the
sorry,
Revive servers that Nathan, one of our other co-hosts, was mentioning previously. Another one. They also have Combat Evolved, the original version, revived on their Revive account.
I and I as much as I hate to say it, sometimes a game is just in the right place at the right time. You know, the StarCraft to a large extent. I look at a game at the right place at the right time. Um, you know, I,
StarCraft was the one game that's very similar to Warhammer, right? With the
40K
yeah,
basically.
40K, yeah.
Um, it's one of those things that I look at. Halo, StarCraft, um, to an extent, Diablo, as games kind of being in the right place in the right time, more than a super rich strategy and a revolutionary game. They did the correct leaps at the correct time, had a solid game to play, and kind of had everything right while not being spectacular. EverQuest is the same way. It's the first like super popular MMO.
Well, even then, we still have Mario because who but the Japanese would think of a princess needing to be rescued by a plumber in a weirdly infested world full of pipes.
I don't question what acid the Japanese were getting when they came up with that.
It's fun. It with the original. I still have one of the original Game Boy versions. I think it might be the second Mario game ever made, and it's like unbelievably hard. And you don't throw fireballs when you upgrade your character. You throw rubber balls. They bounce better too. It's fantastic. But if you get like scratched, you either have to remember a code or you start all the way at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and the I don't miss those days at all. The I've been on over the last couple of years a roguelite binge of, I really enjoy games that make you play cautiously because there is no saving. Predominantly PC, stuff like FTL. Um, but
There's another one on there. I forget what its name is. It's based in the medieval period, and if you die, you lose everything, and you have to create a new character. It's like that. While that sounds incredibly challenging and possibly fun, having spent a lot of time in RuneScape, and when like I've died like 2 times, and after the first time was by accident, the second time was I was accidentally wildly and like lost all my adamant armor. I was so pissed. I can't imagine that getting to a high enough level in that game and then having some random peasant shank me to death and uh, lose everything and have to start from scratch.
and that sucks. I think that there reaches a point that the roguelite needs to have a max play time. Anything that's got permanent death in it, I really think a full game run should be in the 2 to 3 hour block. Nothing more, because I don't want to invest tens of thousands of hours into that into such a game just to lose it.
Yeah, that sucks a lot. And I think that's why, well, one, because of the memory space, and the reason why a lot of the earlier games were so much shorter, or at least had codes to bring you to the specific point in the game that you left. And I'm thinking of Jackal and Mercs as something. You don't really see those anymore, of course, because we have better graphics, but the top-down, not really top-down, but more an angle games where you go up, an up-scroller.
Like 1943 and the old like flying flying games and stuff like that. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm still reminded of Bionic Commando as one of those. I'm not sure really what's going on kind of games, but it's fun and I'm shooting stuff, so I'm happy.
I've been on and off playing a game called Broforce for the last couple years, and it is
You missed last week. We brought that up on from GOGgames.com. They have that for sale.
and it's on Steam. I bought it right at release, I want to say, and talk about a game that just was absolutely amazing, amazingly fun to play. Not even gonna lie, like it was one of those the stream of profanity that left my mouth because you know, how dare you kill me? Um yeah.
So I gotta ask one question: is it kind of like the Expendables movies in concept?
Yeah, Expendables meets Contra. That's exactly, the same sense of humor from Expendables, a lot of pop culture references while having the gameplay of Contra.
Oh, I haven't played Contra in years. Man,
Um,
that game was hard too. Although I think I probably mentioned this a lot before, but I think a lot of modern gamers don't really know the those born after 2000 really don't know the struggle that the original gamers had to deal with all of the having to start over from the beginning, except if they played Dark Souls and then they die at the drop of a hat.
and the fact is, games got easy, and
They
we're
did.
only seeing over the last couple of years like a return to, oh hey, maybe games should be kind of hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually enjoy them bringing back skill being a requirement into games because I can play a lot of the games that I have, and it's easy, but in the PlayStation 2 world, some of them are actually rather difficult for me, and I enjoy that because it's not like I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again, though I can do it, but it gets easier and easier and easier as I go along. And games series like Ratchet and Clank, we really don't see those anymore, but they have the option of you can either start over and rebuild everything from being a noob, or you can go in super powerful and just wipe everything out. And it's so satisfying to just have like limitless resources. So you can just have like I earned the easy path to do this because I bled and cried, mostly cried, to get to this point, and now I can have the easy fun run of it.
And that's one of those things of, I love when you get good at a game and it's like, oh hey, I haven't touched this in, a year, 2 years, 5 years, and you pick it up and it just comes straight back. That's one of those like seeing an old friend again type moments.
And my brother and I actually started replaying Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, and that's probably some of the best gameplay I have ever played because of it follows, of course, the Lord of the Rings movies, and it gives you that kind of immersive bit. The only problem I have with the game is that it has a very fixed camera position, and that really sucks. It, and every so often, my brother and I go through it, get all the characters to level 10, don't think about the game for a couple of years, go back, start over, and train up every single character, all 4 hobbits, take them to the southern gate, fight against hundreds of orcs, get hundreds of kills, face cave trolls with people who shouldn't actually be in that part of the game, and think, why on earth would anyone ever want to go to Pelennor Fields multiple times?
I having done the same thing, I know exactly what you're talking about. Um, and for me, it's I go back and I try and play Shadowgate. Probably about once a year for the last 4 or 5 years. I've been playing the remastered one. Like, oh hey, let's see how far I make it before I give up this time.
How far did you make it?
Generally speaking, about 2.5 hours before I rage quit and uninstall.
Yeah.
Because that is one of those games that, oh hey, you messed up one thing. You died. Shadowgate.
Shadowgate. Okay, I was thinking Shadowrun. I'm thinking.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Shadowrun is absolutely phenomenal. Another one of those games that I really enjoy going back and playing again. Because they've got some awesome ones for PC recently.
My first experience with Shadowrun was with a ROM emulator of the SNES version. I could not figure that game out. My brother played it, and he's like, beating this game once is enough.
Yeah, the original ones were kind of clunky. But as they get a little better, kind of refined a little bit more, it does seriously get better.
I hope so. It wasn't originally based off of a pretty decent RPG.
It was originally a tabletop, very very tech heavy, based on like the 80s and 90s cyberpunk genre. And yeah, it's taken on kind of a life of its own.
It really has. The only part I really remember about the funny about the game is that you do something and he says, "What's that ticking noise?" You go to the doctor and says, "Oh, there's a bomb in your head. I can't remove it, but there's a bomb in your head." Well, who do I go to remove it? Oh, some guy across town. How long do I have? You got about 10 hours. Where's the other side of town? Can't help you. Okay.
Yeah, and one of the things that I like that we've gotten better about is doing explaining the quests better, and kind of getting, I'm trying to think of how to word it, making it so that you know what you're doing at all points in time, and not just, oh hey, go wander around over here.
I think Mana Quest was a lot like that. I'm like, I have a magical sword that I pulled out of a rock at the base of a waterfall. I've been kicked out of the village, and I have no idea where to go next. Let's just wander around to find some knight at a water palace to tell me what I'm going to do next. Oh, yeah, you have to meet me in such and such city in 2 days. How am I supposed to get there? That's not my problem, kid. You can try to find a cannon. Oh, yeah, fantastic.
and that's been the original Final Fantasy, for example. It's so easy to get lost, so easy, like, oh hey, where do I need to go? You'll figure it out, or you'll give up.
Well, I think that'd be really handy for like stuff today. I haven't actually played any of the Watchdog games, but this sounds very similar to that. It's like they have some quests, but you have to figure your way out and around all these obstacles.
in I don't mind, or you know, I don't mind that. It's when I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing and I'm just wandering amok. Like, oh hey, I don't even have a map to figure out what's going on. There's a happy medium there.
Yeah. More another, I guess you'd say, iconic version for RPGs is at least Final Fantasy, which isn't that final, because I remember the story. My brother says, like, the dude just thought, oh, this is gonna be the only game I'm gonna build, so I'm gonna call it Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 17.
I mean, it at least sounds better than a random fantasy, but yeah.
Yeah. Then there's was there any games that you remember like they expected to have a bunch of series after it, but it died like right after the first one?
Actually, Freedom Fighters, which was a Xbox PlayStation 2.
Why does that sound familiar?
Um,
Was it made by the people who made Red Star?
it was made by the people who made Hitman.
Ah,
IO Interactive.
I think I know which one you're talking about. They had a bunch of mods. It was like a cult classic, if I remember correctly.
No mods, actually. It was one of those that didn't do well on PC. Um, had a mediocre turnout. The online play, which was the hotness at the time, sucked. The multiplayer was not phenomenal, though the single player was.
Mhm.
So it became one of those things of it didn't do particularly well, and IO took a hit, so they consolidated down to just Hitman. And for years they were promising, like, oh hey, Freedom Fighters 2, Freedom Fighters 2, and they've finally just stopped answering the question.
Yeah, and that reminds me of this one game. It's called Paratroopers, and it's a sneak and slash game. It has probably some of the terriblest gameplay I've ever encountered, with all the terrible hiding and in like the barely lit corner, and that's just on the easy side of the game. But the positive side is I get to shank Nazis with a 10-inch blade, and that's just fun. But all your guns are
um,
loud. There's no actual sneaking, so the only way to actually dispose of anyone quietly is to shank them. So there's really no choice in the matter.
you know, shit happens. Um, I definitely enjoyed a lot of the older series. They played around heavily with making World War II fun again.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't fun to begin with, depending on who you were. But yeah, the Medal of Honor series was pretty was my Call of Duty to begin with, because I didn't actually play Call of Duty until later. It was one of the first series of games that I could actually get and play. That was in like the teens ratings,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was very, I thought was well done, especially their Rising Sun, which was set in the Pacific.
I really enjoyed Rising Sun quite a bit. The Pacific has always been one of those because it's very hard to do dense jungle right. Um, so yeah, the I absolutely love getting to kind of see it done.
Yeah, I still remember Pistol Pete Showdown with this, like, my brother and I are crouching in the ferns with our old weaponry, and we're thinking, what are those guys doing by those stakes? Should we do something? Shouldn't we do something? What are we supposed to do here? I don't know. Just start shooting things. Okay, that sounds good.
um Yeah, right. Just go shoot things is probably the best possible thing you can do.
Yeah. The only thing that I did like Call of Duty over um, Medal of Honor was instant melee kills with a knife that they eventually added in. That part I really enjoyed.
um, God, I hate instant melee kills.
Well, then you should love the thing with Battlefield One because I don't think any of theirs is instant except they're really low health, right?
Really low health and stealth.
Oh yeah. Well, at least
Um,
that's realistic.
yeah, and it is what it is, you know. It's not like it well, and the bayonet charges.
Oh yeah,
Um,
you gotta love a
oh,
bayonet charge.
no, I don't. I'm allowed to do the exact opposite. In fact, I do the exact opposite. Um,
You shoot the
no,
people as
the
they rush in.
mm, yeah, yeah, exactly. Um,
So it has its desired psychological effect of a dude with a sharp piece of pretty much a spear rushing at you, screaming at the top of his lungs.
yeah, only much more of me yelling, "Why do I play this game? This is stupid."
Because apparently it seems to me that a lot of the gaming community are like technically gluttons for punishment for some reason. We like playing the games that are hard, but we hate playing the games that are hard, especially when we die a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know why there's just a difference. I'm totally okay with dying a lot as long as it's not for stupid reasons.
Would you want you to find a stupid reason?
Um, Getting bayonet charged
So you're
while
okay
I'm
with
while I'm dousing them with flamethrower hate. Um,
I don't like you. Stay over there.
yeah. No, the random headshots from across the map, the spawn kills, stuff like that drives me nuts. Um,
So, what is your opinion on the new howitzers that they're going to be putting in?
Honestly, I haven't really been tracking the updates for Battlefield 1. Um, it's a lot of fun, but it's not as much fun as 4 for me.
I really haven't been following the updates either, but the new one is based on the French, so it should be interesting. They're adding like a new class and a fixed, what do they call it, howitzer emplacement. That looks like it's rather large.
And I think that it'll work out pretty well. You know, they have the giant fixed guns in a couple maps. Eh, the issue is, again, the map sizing is just something that Dice hasn't quite perfected.
Yeah,
So, um, they need to do a little bit more to make stuff like that really usable.
yeah. But
Um,
maybe it's this generation's iconic game.
definitely I definitely one of those like, wow, this is really something.
Yeah, at least for we mentioned it probably hundreds of times. This is new territory for consoles.
Yeah, it really is,
It incorporates a lot of the vehicular combat that some of the online games have really kind of mastered, especially with games like War Thunder, but only in an era before World War II that not a lot of people have been, like a better term, privy to, except for a very small niche group which actually studies World War One. And
And, and to
go
be
ahead.
honest, they could have said it was World War II. Most people wouldn't ever know the difference.
This is the unfortunate part.
the I really enjoy the gameplay of it more than anything else.
Mhm.
Um, because oh wow, they do a really good job at making the gameplay a lot of fun. Which is the most important thing.
There was a game that came up on my radar recently. I don't think it's called Uprising, but it's online battle game set during the American Civil War, and I think that's more of a hardcore niche players kind of thing rather than something like Battlefield 1,
Yeah.
because everyone hates reloading. I know I do. And reloading at that time is going to be unbelievably slow.
Actually, I think I saw this. I think I played the game you're talking about.
Really?
Um, and what was the name of it?
I want to say it was Uprising or something similar. I'd have to like scroll through my like recently liked pages or something, but it has popped up as a recommended post a number of times, and it's like in the beta stages for their game.
Okay, I was thinking of a game that came out under for the Xbox 360 that I think was done with or for the History Channel. That was set in the Civil War. Um, interesting take. At the time, I don't think they had the technology to integrate, the the horse cavalry and dragoons and the cannons.
Yeah.
So it just felt like a Call of Duty in the Civil War.
I actually remember Call of Duty. Actually, I think did a tablet game set during the American Revolution. I
I don't think I've played that.
I want to say that like right when tablets were first getting into being the thing, that Call of Duty rolled out this small American Civil War or American Revolution game where you got like 4 shots before your primary's out of ammunition. You have to reload it by hand, and you're fighting for the freedom of America from British tyranny. And after like the year that they mentioned it, and was kind of like trying to hype it up, I'd never heard anything about it ever again.
Which is always, always a great indication of a good game, right?
Honestly, I think they probably would. If Call of Duty, there was like a gag thing where it says like Call of Duty Medieval. If they just made like sword fighting and spear fighting, I think people would probably kind of like it. It'd probably be like one of the Dynasty Warriors old hack and slash ones. But there's just something. I think World War One is the earliest you can go for a shooting game, because people just don't really have the patience, especially like the Call of Duty community, the patience that Napoleonic era and Revolutionary era uh, fighting required.
And the pike and musket era, it gets in the way of a fun game. Oh hey, we can totally make a game, but is it really going to be fun for people?
Do people actually want to charge in and get hacked a bit with cutlasses on a boat somewhere in the Mediterranean?
Generally speaking, no.
Yeah, I'd play the game though. That actually sounds quite interesting because I like history. But the average
Yeah,
person's like,
you're also a glutton for punishment, Trent.
I totally am. You can hear the masochism already.
Um, sorry.
back to the iconic games, I guess. You mentioned Zelda earlier on. I think that really is one of the. Actually, it's an RPG kind of, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of the first, with a lot of the features that we've come to expect from RPGs. Leveling up equipment.
Despite the fact there's only 3 levels, but.
Well, leveling up equipment, new equipment, increasing your capability through heart containers, the like.
Yeah, stores where you can buy nefarious potions to increase your heart rate and other things. Which was an accidental pun. But yeah. I think I actually have, for Game Boy, the original Legend of Zelda. And I must say I enjoyed having the red candle, because then I can light things on fire in the midst of the forest. And those things just happen to be monsters, and I can use it as a shield so the things can't kill me. Trying to figure out where the heck in this seemingly impenetrable forest am I going to get away from these damn moblins and find the Mountain of Death, which, when their right mind wants to find the Mountain of Death.
Well, obviously young Japanese boy in green tights. That's exactly who wants to find the Mountain of Death.
No, you know what is quite interesting is that your original sword in the game is not a sword, it's a wooden sword.
Yeah, you're just whacking them with a stick. Like, well done, Link, well done.
Well, it's funny because I always love reading like the backstory in the little game booklets, because they actually knew how to write a story back then that you actually gave a crap about. It's like, oh yeah, some random kid walks in and it's like foretold in the prophecy that he's going to save some random princess he's never met, and he walks into some shady dude's cave. That dude gives him a wooden sword, tells him to go have fun, and he's immediately attacked by land octopuses and goblins throwing spears.
And he didn't turn around and leave. I'm clearly questioning his sanity.
Well, I think the one that really makes you have to question Link's sanity is the one where he's dead or not dead, but he's on the subway with a bunch of dead people. I mean, that's some horror movie level stuff right there, just in my horrible description of it. But
I'd actually forgotten about that one. Phantom Train, wasn't it?
it was. I remember reading like an articles a while ago in a gaming magazine. It's like Link is the only character that you ever encounter who has a backstory, but yet is much of a mystery that he can be anyone who's actually playing the game.
And I think to an extent that's worked well for that game. They didn't shoehorn him into just kind of one position, and they let you fill in the details.
Oh yeah, like your different play styles, whether you're going to decimate the entire village or not.
Yeah, exactly. But just don't mess with the chickens.
Yeah, the chickens. There was, I think my favorite one, the one I play the most, is Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. And at least that one, it's not like the random kid comes in and he's handed a wooden sword and you go off to save the princess, but you have to carry on like your family legacy to save the princess. Instead of, who's this guy? Oh yeah, hey, we need somebody to do our dirty work for us, and you're not a towner. You look like you're a capable lad.
Yeah, and I really do enjoy. I'm excited to see what they continue to do with the franchise. I really hope Nintendo finally gets their shit together and stops making low-tech consoles. So maybe we can see something, technically competent.
Yeah, last time I heard what they were doing with the series is they turned Link into a crossbow wielding woman, so that could probably work really, really well. But it goes against with the rest of the thing where it's like Link is the sword wielding hero. It doesn't matter what gender he is, and he wades into combat and he hacks his enemies to bits and freezes them, takes their parts elsewhere, and sells them for money.
Look, we don't question it. We just,
What amuses me the most is in Link to the Past that Link picks up a random mushroom in the haunted woods or whatever it is, goes to a witch, sells it for some magic powder, and starts tossing it on stuff. Oh yeah, but it's also really handy because it turns those annoying flying flower things with the fists on it into fairies to give you life. So walking around with a bunch of glass jars full of small fairies is much more preferable to dying in game.
Are you sure about that?
Well, when I explain it that way, it sounds creepy. But yeah, the great thing about the Zelda games is that you can describe them so badly, such as Link goes on in Link to the Past goes on a massive grave robbing spree of ancient civilizations, technologies, and it it's normal. Anyway,
Yeah, and that's one of those as I'm thinking about it more, it's like, man, I there are so many tropes and things that were normalized from Legend of Zelda that we take for granted. Be it, unlocking new equipment throughout the game, I to an extent in video games, the dungeon crawl, you
mm-hmm.
know.
It's like, oh yeah, I'm technically like you're breaking in and stealing all this ancient valuables, and oh yeah, that's more like acceptable because there's just skeletons guarding this thing. Either way, we'll pick up on the Legend of Zelda series next time on our iconic game series. And with that, the lights go down as cool music plays, and I'll catch you next week.